Alright guys, what's up? This is Jeremy with Full of Sit. I want to do this quick little video series, but I'm sure some of you have heard that saying, the devil's in the details, right? That's what I want to focus on with this little video series. I want to get into the details of dog training, so some of the stuff that we don't always hear online, right? So many times online we hear very kind of broad and generalized dog training recommendations, right? So use treats when you're training your dog. Well, that's good, but maybe we should get into the details of that and talk about what kind of treats. How big should they be? What should the texture be like? So let's get into it. This is going to be the first little detail to dog training that I want to go over, and we're going to talk about treats. The first thing that I do when I get a dog, other than put a leash on them and kind of control where they go and what they do, is training-wise, I want to enter into a contract with my dog, right? So I want to show my dog what I'm going to use to pay them with. So just like when we go out and we get a new job and we're making our way through the hiring process, we want to know pretty early on, like, how much am I going to get paid to do this job? Because I need to figure out, is this job worth doing for what you're willing to pay me? And that's kind of how I look at dogs when I'm training them. We've entered into a contract. I'm showing that dog that, hey, I'm going to pay you with this treat or this toy for doing this work, okay? So if I use something that the dog's not too fond of, so a lot of people go out and they buy those big bulk boxes of the hard and crumbly dog biscuit type treats, so like your milk bones and stuff, and you don't get a lot of engagement out of your dogs for those, and you find it's a little bit difficult to get your dog to do things for those. And that's because that's not a super high value food reward for most dogs. So then what happens is you call a dog trainer and we come out and the dogs get excited to see us, and man, within just a few minutes of being there, we've got complete engagement from the dogs, and we're able to get those dogs to do anything just about that we want them to do, right? And you sit back and you scratch your head and you think, man, has that dog trainer got a magic wand in his pocket? Nope. We just have a higher value treat than what you're used to using, which means the dog's not used to getting that high value of a reward, and they really want it. So they're really going to work for it, right? So the details of dog training. Tip 1, get a high value treat when you're working with your dog. And you're going to have to experiment a little bit, right? Years ago, I had a dog that loved pears. So I could use pears, right? I would dice up pears and use those for training. I had a client not too long ago, her dog loved carrots, the little baby carrots, right? So guess what we used for training? Experiment with your dog, try a bunch of different treats, find out what they really, really like. I typically show up with something that's soft and meaty and chewy, and you know, a lot of times the stinkier the better, right? So I'll show up and I use, if I'm using commercial treats, it's usually like Happy Howies, or there's a few others that I'll buy at a local store here, Hollywood Feed. And, you know, usually bite size for the dog that I'm training, something soft, something relatively chewy and stinky, right? So the dogs really like it. If I'm not using commercial treats, a lot of times I'll show up with just cheese sticks or maybe hot dogs, or I'll cut up chicken breast. I'll bake a chicken breast and cut it up into little cubes, right? So I usually show up with something that the dog's really gonna like. And if you're a brand new client and I don't know your dog yet, I'm gonna show up with 2 or 3 different kinds of treats, because I wanna figure out your dog while I'm there, figure out what they like, what motivates them, and what they're willing to work for. I don't wanna show up with a pocket full of dry dog biscuits and your dog looks at me and is like, nah, I get those all the time. They're not that great. I don't wanna work for them. Then I would have a problem, right? So something else that affects treats and how well your dog likes or doesn't like them also is how often do they get them, right? So one of the analogies that I use for my clients all the time is, why is gold worth more than gravel? And that's because If you don't know where we're located, we're in West Tennessee, kind of out in the country. I can walk down any back road here and pick up a handful of gravel. So therefore, gravel just isn't that valuable to me. But I can't do that with gold. So gold is more scarce. It's harder to get. It's harder to find. Therefore, it's worth more. So if you have treats that you're constantly doling out to your dog for no good reason whatsoever, you just come home and you're like, oh, I love my dog so much, and you start throwing treats at them. Well, then they're used to getting those treats and not really having to do anything for them. So then when we ask the dogs to do some work for those treats, they're like, nah, I don't wanna. I get those all the time for doing absolutely nothing. Why the heck should I work for you now? Okay, so use treats when you're training your dog. High value treats. Make it something that the dog really, really likes, and make the dog do a little bit of work for it. All right, you don't have to, I'm not asking you to go out and run a full-blown agility course with your dog in order for them to get a treat, but make them do something for it. Don't just give it to them free. That way they know that they've got some skin in the game, so to speak. I have to do something to earn this reward. All right, so I think I rambled on long enough. We will do another quick video here coming up. We'll jump into another kind of detail in dog training. Remember, the devil's in the details, right? So the next time somebody gives you dog training advice, and people do it all the time, right? Just ask your neighbor how to get your dog to sit, and then go ask your other neighbor how to get your dog to sit. You're gonna get 50 different answers, okay? The devil's in the details, so ask how, right? Ask why am I doing what I'm doing. Okay, stick around. We'll have another video coming up. We'll do the next video kind of on rewards also. We'll do one on toys, and the same thing for toys kind of applies as it does for treats, right? We want the dog to work for something that they really want. All right, we'll see you around. If you want to see some more of these videos, give us a like, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, do all the social media stuff that you got to do to keep us in the algorithm. All right, y'all have a wonderful day. Grab your leash, get your dog, and get to work, you filthy animals.